Hello and welcome to Conversations for Charity, everyone that is here live, joining us on the replay that's going out tomorrow and the public replay that's going out next week. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christine Noble-Seller, and I'm your host and the creator of this online guest speaker series for animal and nature lovers, and it's now in its second year. I work as an animal and nature communication advocate and sacred activist, and I'm joining you from my home in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. This series is part of my sacred activism, which some of you may know as Love in Action, or simply put, volunteer service. I donate my time and resources to promote intuitive interspecies communication and its benefits, as well as raise awareness, consciousness, and funds for ethical animal, wildlife, and nature organizations. So I am truly grateful for your interest and support and being here today, however you're joining. Thank you. Our conversation today, as you know about, is called Animal Communication, Healing Between Animals and Their Humans. And I am delighted and honored to introduce today's guest speaker, my dear friend and colleague. This is the second time we've done something together recently. Last time, Eleni and I were together in her home in Greece. We did an event called Animal Allies back in June, where Eleni shared on homeopathy. So she's joining us from Greece today, and I'm in Canada. I wish we could be together, but we are together.
Time.
Exactly. Eleni Gkikakis is the founder and facilitator of Interspecies Peace. Eleni's ability to act as an intuitive bridge between humanity and nature began with her very first spoken words, a conversation with the flowers in her family garden. For over 2 decades, she's been dedicated to acquiring more and more knowledge to deepen her interspecies communication practice, to continue to offer the world the foundations for interspecies peace. She is a lifelong sacred activist and advocate for animal welfare, and she's actively involved in numerous conservations in Africa, such as the Global White Lion Protection Trust, Animal Spirit, the Jane Goodall Institute, the Linda Tucker Foundation, and independent peacemaking groups such as LION, L-I-O-N, which stands for Love is in Our Nature, as well as Greek and European wildlife and domestic animal sanctuaries. In 2019, Eleni graduated from the Academy for Lion-Hearted Leadership. This ignited her desire to set up the Interspecies Peace Foundation and encouraged her to assist others on their own journey for interspecies peace. Eleni's work through the Interspecies Peace Foundation is focused on reconciling and restoring human and non-human relations. Eleni envisions and works towards a world free of geographical, cultural, social, ecological barriers, a world free of fences and borders, a world of interspecies peace. Welcome, Eleni.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you so much. It is lovely to be here with so many people and many familiar faces and many new ones. I'm honored and humbled. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yeah, there's a few more hellos in the chat from Iro from Greece and Katarina and Maya from Athens. Thank you for saying hello. We're so grateful you're here. So the purpose of this series is to raise awareness, consciousness, and funds. And today, 100% of the net proceeds are being donated to your emerging Interspecies Peace Foundation. Get my tongue around that. Can you share how these funds will benefit your work and maybe some past projects you've done to give us a sense of how this will support the foundation?
Absolutely, yes. So I do actively get daily involved with the local animal shelters around here, or on animal strays, and even some wildlife in distress that may be in the area. So whatever actually is outside my doorstep, I will offer assistance, starting from the basic stuff, which might be food and water, anything needs some veterinary care. So some funds do go to that. And then as a foundation and, as an organization, we go even further. An example would be that last year, the funds of other fundraising conversations and projects that I did went to the sister project of Core Light. Some people might be familiar, of Brad Laughlin and Leslie Temple Thurston, which is Seeds of Light. And they have schools with children that have been orphaned in Acorn Hook, which is the poorest community in South Africa. And so part of our funds, I know that assisted to get art supplies for these children to continue their art in that school. And another part also went to a sister organization of Core Light, which is the Global Wildland Protection Trust, which is a project I'm very actively, as you know, and you and I, very actively involved in. And they also have what is called Star Lion Centers. And these are schools that are being sponsored in a way, you can say, and financially supported by the Global Wildland Protection Trust. And this is how organizations like that is what they apply as what I call as sacred conservation, because it is all about the people and the land and the animals as well. So in one of those schools, part of our funds was very much, in a big percentage, the reason why they managed to open a new well to have water. And I found that to be extremely emotional to me. You know, Christine, my relationship with working with the element of water and all elements. So it was really wonderful to know that, these bits and pieces of work that we do and all that fundraising is actually giving water to children to go to school, and some other children the means to continue their art and get out of a situation that has caused them, sadness and depression because they have been orphaned. So I'm continuing to do as much as I can, and I'm hoping with the assistance of everyone and more projects and assistance like yours to continue and expand even further to more people, to more land, to more animals, elements, anything, everywhere.
Hear, hear. Thank you for all the good work that you and the foundation are doing. And thank you for everyone here who's signed up, who's making this possible. And thank you for sharing examples of the work that the foundation is doing, including the human animals, because often we forget to include ourselves. So a brief note to everyone how Conversations for Charities works, today's format, so that you can enjoy it and make the most of our time together. So Eleni and I are going to have an interview, which I like to call a conversation. I'm going to ask her some questions that you saw advertised when you signed up, and she's going to pull it all together with an amazing story so that you can experience the topic. And then she'll take us into a guided meditation, of which she'll explain to us and how you can choose to participate. Then it will be time to invite you actively to join in the conversation. We'll open up the Q&A, and you're free to ask Eleni your questions, make comments about the experience of points and dots that are connecting for you, as well as share your experience, if you wish, about the meditation. And then we'll close today's conversation with hearing Eleni's news, some upcoming offerings that she has, what to expect from me in terms of follow-up tomorrow, and then a group goodbye and thank you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mute the chat just for now. And that's just so Eleni and I can focus. But I encourage you, if something comes up in the conversation between Eleni and I that you want to ask a question or follow up, just make a note and bring it forward in our Q&A. Okay, so animal communication, Eleni, or intuitive interspecies communication, healing between animals and their humans. I just want to mention too, we planned to do this last July, and we both had to cancel. I had COVID, and your beloved unicorn horse, Lily, had a very catastrophic fall. And we were both struggling to let it go, but honored where we needed to be. So I just want to say, before we get into the interview, how excited I am that we are having this conversation a year and a month later, and that it is happening.
Wow.
So let's talk about communication, animal communication, intuitive interspecies communication. How do you see it, Eleni, as a way to heal an animal? How is it a healing method for animals?
Well, to me, these answers seem like, and I believe that for everyone on this call, they're pretty much self-explanatory. How can it not be? Imagine, going through something like, you had COVID, my horse was very sick, and we would call up one another and we'd practically say nothing. I just need someone to be here. I just need someone to listen. So many times when someone is close to you with the intention of listening and actually sharing that painful space that someone may be in, or even joyous space, the joy just becomes greater and greater because you share it, and that multiplies so much more. And also when there is sadness or pain, it eases because someone shares the burden. So it is as simple as it is with us humans, and hopefully if we have forgotten, we can remember after today's conversation. It is as simple as holding someone's hand, paw, hoof, feather, whatever it is, just being there and holding their literal or metaphorical hand, saying, I'm here, I'm listening, how can I help? And one recent example, which this actually happened just a few days ago, which is completely outside of what we had planned to talk about. A girl called me up about her kitty that she rescued and had very, very difficult times adjusting into the home family and with many other cats and being in a house which she hadn't been before. And she wanted me to communicate with the cat. And I said to her, I will start today with this intention setting. I will set up the space of inviting the animal in. I don't believe I will have the time to communicate today, but I will make the time to do that tomorrow. And she sent me a message on that same night saying, I don't know what you've done, but she's completely healed. And it's amazing because she used these exact words. She's completely healed. She came out of her hiding space. She's pairing and she's playing with the other kitties and even came on my lap. I did go on with the communication only to find out that exactly that. What I needed is that someone is going to be here and listen. That I wasn't alone in a house full of people and other cats as well. So it is as simple.
I love that it's simple, but I love that it's a reminder. And I love how that story is just so powerful to show that all species appreciate being heard. So in this healing process where we use intuitive communication between beings, human animals and non-human animals, how does that impact us? How does that impact the human?
Well, we become happier, have assisted someone. We made someone happier. We took some of their burden or some of their pain, knowing that listening to that person, animal person, and seeing the results of that, they may become easier to sleep. They may be more relaxed. They may start purring, or they may just start wagging their tails more. It doesn't matter what it is. But when we see that, we rejoice. And especially when it is an animal that we are the guardian of, that we are stewarding their well-being and their life. And when we see that after that communication, there's been so much happiness and so much wellness in their behavior and in their physical bodies sometimes, then doesn't that make us feel better as well? Doesn't that also take that butterfly feeling out of our stomach, or our heart racing, or our breathing that was shallow to become deeper and more relaxed? That affects both our physical and emotional state, and definitely our mental and spiritual. So it is a holistic approach. It is impossible to leave any parts of the bodies, any bodies outside of the equations. It's physical, it's spiritual, it's mental, it's emotional. And we can see the response on all those bodies, on our animals and ourselves, if we tune in and if we're very much aware of what is happening in our surroundings and within us.
I love how you mentioned the range of emotions in your answers to the last questions, like, joy, sadness, happiness, because we experience all of those. and how non-human animals are masters of energy and how they understand it, how they could be there to support us, how we can be there to support them. But it makes me think of how my animal family brings me joy. It truly is such a high vibration.
Absolutely.
So,
all of us, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. So with animal communication, it can be used for all kinds of purposes. It has all kinds of benefits. Do the humans always need healing? And if they do need healing, what's the process how do they heal through the actual communication?
Well, this is a very complicated question, and it can be, it will end up being most of the discussion and why we need to tell that story in a little while. Many times, those who study animal communication, those who are, intuitive people, they do know that when their animal is unwell, they may find in themselves some sort of imbalance or disharmony in their physical or emotional body. And they might think of it, or they might feel it consciously or subconsciously. It doesn't matter which way, but there will be a voice there saying that my animal got sick because of me. I have this problem, so my animal got sick because, my animal is taking it from me, right? We've all pretty much felt that. So that is many times the case. We know of many cases where the animals, especially the ones that we're living with, that we share our lives with in our homes, they are mirrors to us. They're mirrors to our bodies, how well or not well we take care of our physical self, of our emotions. If we're very sad, they will also be a little bit sad. If we start getting sick, they might also get sick. That is something that I'm pretty sure everybody has noticed in their lives with their animals. Now, is this always the case? No, it is not always the case. And this is where I also found myself to receive very, very hard teachings on that. And one was, and although I had delved into that teaching many years ago when I was deepening my practice and with teachers that were assisting me on this path, it actually took an animal that I was communicating with on behalf of their human, saying, is it because of me? Is it because, I changed my lifestyle and, I got divorced and I changed the house and you got sick? And that creature just said, it's not just about you. And it's not all about you, actually. It was a very harsh way, the way actually the animal said it. I am a sovereign being. And that was amazing to hear. And that actually put a lot of things into perspective and a lot of pieces into their place. Not all of them are here to assist us. They will, if it is in their power and if it is something that has been in their sacred contract. Many animals have decided to share their lives with us because we are the ones who will be able to assist them in their life's journey. Other animals are choosing their human family or other animals as well, because they can co-assist each other's journeys in this life and towards death. And they're definitely these animal angels, as we call them, that are here to relieve us of physical pain, emotional pain, mental pain, of course, but it was a wonderful reminder to realize it's not all about us. And that is exactly what intuitive interspecies communication can do, because by expanding our heart and getting deeper into the knowing of ourselves, then we can see that we can remove those egoic layers more and more and more and see that it's not just about me, it's about them. It is about their life's contract. It is about something that they want to clear from a previous life or something that they need to do here now that may be causing them some sort of pain so that they can prepare for the next one. And how can I be there to assist and facilitate in that process? And that is a very challenging journey, but it is also the deep healing. This is where the deep healing happens. Getting out of our head and ourselves, thinking that this isn't about me. How can I assist? And if it is about me, how can I receive this with grace without asking or demanding at times, please don't die for me, please don't get sick for me. Why? If this is their mission, if this is what they are here to do, if this is what they want to do, which a communication might be able to clarify for us, why not allow them? Why not help them carry it through? It's not easy. Definitely, it's quite challenging. But this is where healing happens, understanding that we're here to assist one another, not just all about us or all about them even.
It's such a balanced answer. It's not all about us. It's not all about them. And particularly the last part that you spoke, because I get this working and supporting with families so much as well, that of course we don't want our loved ones to die or to get sick. And yet our animals have their own purpose, their own contracts, their own soul mission. And sometimes I feel that we as humans lose sight of that they're not just here for us. And it can be such a loving gesture to support them. So this leads beautifully into our next question, because you've talked about the healing. So I'd love for you to talk more about this healing that happens between humans and their animals, animals and their humans, collectively as we each and together heal. What does healing mean for relationships between the beings, between the human, between the animals?
Well, once we bring into consciousness what is happening in a situation of distress, whether it is emotional or physical, most of us are worried about the physical distress. Actually, there's an illness, my animal got sick, or I am sick and my animal will get sick now, and vice versa. It doesn't matter. But when this happens, and then we start exploring how it is that we can help and assist our animals, those who reach out to intuitive interspecies communicators, they know that the animal may have great insight about how they feel in their bodies, if it is something that they carry for themselves, or if it is something that they carry for their humans or another human or another life. Doesn't matter. We can find these things out if they're willing to share. And absolutely they can have a say and an opinion on how they want to be helped. We offer them the options, you can have, injections, and describe to them, you can have injections with chemotherapy, you can have herbs, or you can have this, and then describe to them what each method is, and then allow them to choose what it is that they would like and what it is that they would serve them best on this plane, this Gaian plane, because we're all Gaians, and what is also good for what is also going to facilitate their highest good, if they can also share that with us. So it is many times the healing between animals and humans and animals and the collective can happen on a practical level. You start doing some sort of treatment that you have agreed or co-created a plan with your animal, and it starts working. Doesn't that immediately tell you something about the way that you want to take care of yourself? Do you listen to your body? Do you listen to your organs? Do you really know what it is that you want? Or is it something that because other friends or other experts or, doctors or holistic practitioners have told you? How does that feel to you? So once you start taking control and responsibility of the actions that you want to take to assist your physical body, let's just talk about a physical body right now, animals and humans as well. And then by being so very much engaged into the process of healing, that amplifies it, that actually makes it even more potent, because you do believe in it. And I'm not talking about placebo. You have faith that what you do is actually in your control and in assistance with others, and you feel comfortable with it. It's not like somebody has taken you, human or animal, put you on some sort of table, do different things to you that you don't understand, but you do have faith in your practitioner, but you don't understand. That brings some sort of anxiety. And that is coming from my impressions that I have from animals. I mean, when animals are, when we explain to them what it is that is going to happen on the surgical table at the veterinary clinic, when they have a surgery, they go in and they're even a lot more relaxed. And the time it takes for them to heal back from such a difficult surgery, for example, to remove a tumor, it is so much shorter, and it happens so much easier and faster than if the animal was in distress. What's happening to me? They have all these smells, they have all these lights, they have this unfamiliarity. So the same thing is with us as well. So by learning from the animals, this is how I've seen it. When I'm asked to communicate with an animal that has a health problem, and we co-create with the human guardian and the animal a plan for their health, something that everyone feels comfortable with, because the human might say, there's no way I'm going to do that. I don't care if my animal wants it or not. Then we also have to explain to the animal, This is off the table for this and this reason. Include them in the decision-making process. It's great if we can do all that they want, but sometimes that's not possible. So we need to explain to them why that is not possible, and why what something else is possible for them. Again, once they start to understand, it helps the healing process. And then when we see the response to that, we say, you know, I'll do the same for me next time. I'll use the same methods because it works and it's beautiful and it's nice and I feel comfortable with it. And then someone else in the family sees it. And then the extensive family, the other animals, most of us have more than one, you know, oh, okay, that worked really nice. Let me try some similar approach on the other animals as well. Of course, it would be nice to ask every single one of them. But once we find out that something works, and once we find out something that from a collective communication with animals is something that is, as a collective, good for most of them, then we want to implement, like all animals would like to have natural nutrition. So, you know, when you try it for one animal, then it is very easy to take and see that it works. It is very easy to take that to the rest of your animal family. And then if something goes wrong, for example, when animals say, you know, no way, I'm not going to do that. So then, you know, we can communicate specifically with that animal, just continue giving them, you know, whatever it is that they like, if it is for their best interest, of course. And we have to explain that to them as well. So going back to that example I said for this cat that was rescued recently, and the whole dynamics and the whole family, animal and human family in the house, once that little cat came out of her hiding in the house, you know, behind a closet, behind of a closet. I think it was a very complicated space. Everyone relaxed. The other cats also started playing more. The humans were also relaxed instead of feeling very concerned, all of them, and worried about what's going to happen with this kitty. How can we get that out? How is she going to eat? Are we going to keep that? Do we need to find her another home? Do we just need to, you know, help her get better and just take her back out into the streets where she was probably feeling more comfortable? Those things were immediately lifted. Just because in that case, the intention of communicating and saying, I'm here and I'll come back tomorrow and we'll talk about it, you know? And I think they have 10 cats and it's 3 humans. The entire family, human and animal, healed from that stress, healed from that anxiety, what's going to happen in the future.
I love that story. I love how it demonstrates what you were talking about earlier as a ripple effect. If it works for one, it works for all. And that concept that we are one and that we are connected, and what we do for ourselves will affect others. So you've touched on it already. I just want to see this next question. If you have anything to add, you really may have covered it. But how can this healing through intuitive communication further other relationships? Can it do so? I think we've established that, but how so? How can it do it? Why are we affected?
Well, I think we have covered most of it, and
yes.
More of that is going to be covered in the story, but you're giving me a very good idea here, Christine, and this is something that you know about, so I'm just going to go off script a little bit. Okay.
Perfect.
Right. So sneak preview, everyone. So keep it within this little circle. Christine knew of this when she was here in Greece. I was recently contacted by a fantastic holistic veterinarian, Jeff Feynman, Dr. Jeff Feynman from the United States. And I already had my interview with him. So how does this kind of work affect everyone else? Well, guess what? Starting sometime in October, I do not have the dates yet, but we'll keep you updated for sure. There's going to be a global conference or summit or convention. I don't know what that's going to be. It's going to be online. I don't know the name of it yet. And it will be specifically, it's going to be open for everyone, but it is to inspire veterinary students and veterinary practitioners, Western veterinary medicine, to be inspired by energy workers, by intuitive interspecies communications, communicators, by pranic healers, by homeopaths, how they can bring these kinds of inspirations into their heart at first, and then if they want, they can expand on them. So if a few stories here and there have reached, the ears and the hearts of few wonderful, like Jeff Feynman, holistic veterinarians, and they want to bring it out into a global summit, there you have it. This is how it's going to happen. One story at a time, one person at a time. And I know we're all rushing to get everything and all of it out there all at once. I'm one of those people, and understand I'm very impatient. You know, there's so much knowledge, there's so much healing in this knowledge that animals share with us, nature shares with us, natural healing remedies share with us. So it's happening, and this is how it ripples out from your animal's health to your child's health, to your own health, to the entire animal family, you know, the extended family of humans, you know, and then your vet finds out about this and said, oh, that's interesting. You know, I'm going to look this up, or, you know, they're going to go and join that summit, and they will know that there's so many other options and there's so many other ways that they can integrate. I'm not saying one or the other, okay, but I'm talking about integrating all this wonderful intuitive work, intuitive healing, energy healing, natural herbs, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter, with Western medicine to bring healing to animals, which again is going to teach their humans, oh, look at that. It's an approach, a holistic approach that helps. Why don't I explore that? And that's when it becomes global healing.
What a perfect, beautiful way to answer that question and get a sneak peek and make people aware. And it is the power of example. It is the power of stories, that the oral storytelling that humanity has lived generation through generation. So a couple more questions, and then we get to hear your story. I'm really excited. Here's an interesting question that I think a lot of people may have, because we've talked about how animals can support us. Do all of our animal family members have a healing mission for us?
No. Some, they just have a healing mission for another animal in the family. Some have a healing mission for their own spirit and their own existence. If I intuitively communicate with them, we can find out which it is. And sometimes it is all at once, you know, one healing the other. And it goes back and forth. And it's not a one-way street. And it's not a two-way street. It's not an animal healing the human, or the human healing the animal. Because that inspires and gives the example, and that balance that we bring into the physical and emotional and mental and spiritual, it ripples out to the rest of the family. So it's not a one-way street. It's multidimensional, and it's multi-leveled, and it is just so incredibly, I don't know, spherical. It's not just one way. It's even, I feel that many times it is even healing to the other side, especially when we're working with animals that they are very sick and they're about to transition, and they may have difficulty in transitioning. They may be having things that they hold them back, and they're not necessarily us. It's not always about us, you know? So what is it that they may be afraid on the other side? What is it that they carry from other lives that may make them feel that they're not complete to let go of this life and go forward? So how can we assist them on that? So sometimes there may be no answers, but just being there and saying, you know, I'll see you through. I'll walk down that path with you, and I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to light a candle for you. And that can also feel very, very healing. Just this past couple of days, I've facilitated an animal to cross over, and although she was taking very, very hesitant steps, if I can put it in a picture kind of way, and all of a sudden she makes a 180 and comes back, and she visits her humans, and then the humans were sending me messages today that they had this, all of a sudden a bird flew in the house, and then someone said, you know, that there was a bee that stood on my water and would not leave, and you know, these little signs that something is happening that is completely unusual for them. And once they acknowledged those, and once we spoke with the animal and saying, what do you want to say to us? Is something holding you back? How can we make you move forward? She didn't even respond. She just moved forward. She just wanted to come back and say one last goodbye. So it is, not only is it holistic on a Gaian level, it is multi-level, spherical, spiritual healing on so many levels that we're just starting to grasp when we start working with intuition and communicating with them. We're just starting to scratch the surface, and we can go as deep or as high or as out or as in as much as they will allow us, and as much as spirit allows us as well.
Love how you describe it. It feels so multi-layered and multi-dimensional, and it's just all interwoven. So last question of our interviewees while we hear your story. How do we help our animals from taking on the role of the healer? Do we want to prevent them to do this? Do we need to do this?
Well, we spoke earlier about sovereignty and free will, how they have their own personality and their own spirit and their own sovereignty on physical and spiritual level. So we should ask them, do they really want to do this? Is this something that is going to serve the highest good of all, theirs and ours and the extensive family? And if they feel that this is their mission and they want to do this, we should be very, very humbled and extremely grateful that there's literally an animal angel next to us assisting us with a health problem. If we're talking about any kind of health problem, physical, mental, emotional, doesn't matter. If it is something that maybe made them sick to bring awareness to us, then we can thank them for bringing that awareness into our bodies. And we can, if we want, we cannot lie, we should not lie. We can pledge that we will take good care of ourselves and that they can let it go. We give them permission. We give them permission to carry the burden if they want to. And us as beings, seeing how serious and how wonderful and how divine and beautiful that is, and accept this incredible gift, how can you turn it down? How can someone turn it down? An animal willing to give their life for you. Just be quiet, be silent, take it. If that's their mission, help them accomplish it and do better for you. Make a promise to them that that mission, I don't want to say sacrifice because they never see it as a sacrifice. They see it as a blessed gift to them. How can you take that gift away from me? How can you not allow me to be here on this life and be of service and of use to you? You know, we just think that our animals are happy if they're couch potatoes or if they're wagging their tails when we go for a walk. No, they want to work. Many of them do. They want to be of service. They want to have something to offer. Let's not take that away from them if this is their mission. And let's listen. What is it that they want to tell us?
I think that's such an important point, and so glad we had that conversation. And here comes Oliver, Ollie Cat, who is not my assistant. He is a peer, perhaps a mentor, one of the 3 animal family members that lives in our home that likes to join in this work. So he is, bringing his energy and love. I really appreciate how you talk about asking the animal, and it's a spectrum of a response, and that it is not sacrifice, that it is a gift, and other times it's simply bringing awareness. So I would love to hear the story that just speaks to this conversation. I'm going to turn it back to you, Eleni.
Thank you. Well, this is a story that is very, very old, actually. It happened more than 15 years ago. And it was long before I decided I'm going to pursue interspecies communication as a practitioner, as actually offering it to fellow humans and animals. I was asked by a friend of a friend to assist him with a dog that he had. Let's call him John, and let's call the dog Roxy. Okay, so it is a very sensitive and a very, very beautiful story. And it was one that actually also ignited my need to go deeper with interspecies communication, more so than coaching on holistic treatments. So when John called me, he said that his dog was only 9 months old and that she had serious liver problems, and her blood values for her liver were off the roof. She was very, very sick all the time. She couldn't keep any food down. Her growth was not happening as beautifully and as healthily as it should because of malnutrition, because of the liver problems. And he wanted to be coached a little bit about herbs because he had tried so many other options about specific, maybe natural food and all kinds of stuff. So at the time, because he wasn't very far away from me, at the time I was able to actually take that case and at one time visit them and see them at a park. And I saw a dog that was completely malnourished and bones and skin, and she was very unhappy with her life. And I felt this heaviness in my heart. And I also felt a lot of pain on my right side where the liver is. John was, and it is, I'm going to say this here, we will understand. I mean, people in our group. Men are a little bit more difficult to understand about energy, especially 15 years ago. And they're a little bit more close to it than most humans are. So although I felt this imbalance from Roxy, I wasn't feeling comfortable or invited to talk about it. It was all about, okay, what do we do? What herb do we give? And what, so on, practical information. That's what he needed, some practical advice, nothing else. He was also a very closed off person altogether. And although I was referred by a very close, dear friend of both of us, he wasn't feeling very comfortable because he was also exhausted. His dog, he adopted this dog when she was 2 or 3 months old and she was sick the whole time. So he was at his wit's end. And so we were trying a lot of things. And we tried for 2 or 3 months. I think she turned 1 when I realized that I had to listen to Roxy, even though I was not asking her questions. She was knocking the door. She found someone who could listen, but I was always feeling that, if I don't have his permission, if I'm not actually practicing this, I shouldn't do this because this is exchange of energy. And if I do this wrong, I might get the animal more sick and so on and so forth. So I wasn't really open to have a conversation with her, but she was insisting. And she shared things with me. And when I realized that there's no other way than for me to listen, then I said, okay, I'm here to listen. Tell me what's going on. And she showed me something, and it was extremely vivid. It was like a movie, a story being played as a movie in front of me. It was so, not just vivid, but so detailed. There were a lot of information, a lot of details. And she basically said, that's why I hurt. And it took me a few days before I built up the courage and the strength to call this square type human to say, you know what, I want to tell you something and I want to share something with you. I have this ability where sometimes the animal shows like, and he was completely dismissive in the beginning, like, no, it's like, I don't believe in all that. I don't want to hear it. And I said, well, I think it's important because whatever you have done and whatever we have done together, what every medicine and every doctor have done for you, it hasn't worked. So please listen to me. So I start telling him the story exactly as Roxy shared it with me. And I said, look, I haven't been to your house and I don't know if what I'm going to describe to you, it is a house, it is your house, but it is a place where it has, this kind of windows and there's a couch there and a couch there and you're in the middle of the room and there is this type of lamp. I mean, great detail of everything. And she showed me everything with great detail because she was telling me, you have to tell him every single bit because that would be the only way for him to actually have all the details and understand and believe. And then I see you with another man into that room. You're both standing up. The other man is a quite elder man with white hair, gray white hair, but very white mustache. And he's shorter than you. He wears a brown leather jacket and you're both fighting and you're yelling, the both of you, very, very much. And then you grab this man from the pallet of his coat, of his jacket, and you shake him and you both shout. And there's also tears and shouting. And I think she showed this to me and she said that this is how she hurts. So he was very silent while I was giving him all the details. I'm choking up because this is such an amazing emotional story. I can still remember the stress of the dog and the pain of the dog when she was sharing that. And I could also feel John on the other line, just probably, I mean, he did say it in the end, like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. He hung up the phone. And I'm like, okay, but I also felt a great relief in that moment. I also felt that, okay, I lost him, and I don't even know what's going to happen to the dog now, but you know, I did what I had to do, and I honored what the dog wanted me to do. So almost 2 weeks later, I can't remember exactly, but it was a long time. 2 weeks later, he calls me back. Like, he was very, Eleni, we need to talk. I'm like, okay, I'm here, I'm listening. Like, what you described, there is no way that Roxy has seen. I'm like, okay, so can you help me? Can you please help me? Because I don't know what it is that I described to you. I didn't know, I don't know. It's like, said, and he explained to me, it's like, let me tell you why this cannot happen. I've never been to his house. And he said that, you've never been to my house. Like, how do you know what my house looks like? It's like, and I just recently moved to this house because I was looking for a house that would allow me to have a pet. So this is the house where I got Roxy. And I'm like, okay, so she described me your house. That's possible. You know, when we're communicating with animals, they can describe to us, you know, where they live. It's like, and he said, yes, but that man she never met. That man she never met. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get it now. I'm like, so can you please tell me? It's like, that was my father who died 2 years ago. Roxy had just turned 1. So he died. He's never been to this house. He has never met the dog. The dog has never met him. So he said, what you described to me is like, he called me a lot of names, actually. It was very funny, but in a loving kind of way. It's like, it's impossible for you to know, and it is impossible for the dog to know, and it's not happening. And I said, well, please allow me to explore this with you. How can this be something that causes her pain? How can this be something that causes her pain on the liver? And then I go and say to him, liver means anger. We store our anger. And if you had a fight with your dad and you have stored anger in your liver, maybe she's picking up on that, on you. And he said, then that's another thing. How do you know that I have a problem with my liver? Like, I don't. And Roxy didn't even share that with me, but I assumed, knowing how these energies many times work. So he was very upset, and I was very upset because I was in an uncharted territory. I didn't really know what was happening, and it was one of the very, very rare cases where I was having so many details. And I said, John, you really need to tell me more about this story because I'm only trying to help. I'm not going to share anything with anyone. So he said to me, and he started crying eventually. I mean, he hung up the phone again, and we called again. This went on for a few weeks, actually, and for him to start releasing information, for him to start bringing his pain into consciousness. He said that same night, after that fight that my father and I actually did have, he had a stroke and he died. So long story short, he carries on the pain and guilt that argument killed his father. I'm responsible for my father's death. And that destroyed my relationship with my brother and my sister. That destroyed my relationship with my partner woman that I had at that time. What was one of the reasons why I had to move out from my family home. And I moved to this house, and I didn't want to be alone, and I adopted a dog. And I started drinking, and that has actually caused me problems with my liver and so on and so forth. So there is a family that is broken, right? And there is a dog who we think knows nothing about this, and he can't really process how is it possible. And then I explained to him, I said, animals communicate with us, and that means that she communicates with you and you communicate with her through pictures. So if you day in and day out, night in and night out, with this guilt and this pain and this fear and this agony, you replay that last conversation in your head with your father, that is what your animal sees from you. That's what she gets from you. Animals communicate through pictures. They read the pictures in our minds. We may not speak the words, but the words make the pictures are there before our brain actually makes the words. So he was definitely here, and he admitted, like, of course I can't get over this. Like, I can never get over this. I know I was treading on very, very sensitive ground and on very thin ice, because I was also dealing with a very fragile and sensitive human that was alone in his life. He was starting to rebuild his relationship with his mother, but the dog would always bark and not allow the mother to come into the new house. The dog would not allow anyone else, friends, he told me that down the road. The dog was barking at anyone else coming into his house, into his new space, into his life. He was starting to have a new relationship with another woman, and she could not come and visit him at the new house because the dog was always barking, and she was becoming very, very aggressive towards other humans. I said, well, aggression, fear, they lie in the liver. So we don't see anything else. I mean, the ultrasounds were clear. The blood work was really bad, but the ultrasounds and the imaging of the dog's liver seemed to be very clear. So there wasn't really a reason why this was happening. So I was starting to explain to him that this is probably energetic. And I started, and I didn't have the answers, but I started just asking him the questions. What if this amazing creature, what if Roxy is sent here from your dad to tell you, heal from the other side? See how the healing all of a sudden starts to be more than multidimensional. I have no words for this. I'm all choked up. So he was very upset. And I was also very careful in telling him, you need to seek assistance for yourself. You need to find some sort of therapist. I don't know if it's going to be a psychiatrist or a healer for you. So thankfully, he started listening, because I could see a man that was so closed off and so defensive from the guilt that he was carrying about what happened, that he wasn't seeking for any kind of help. He was in a state of self-punishment that was hurting his body as much as he was hurting his family and his relations all around him, his emotional and mental well-being, as well as his dogs. The dog could be sent from his dad. The dog could be just mirroring what is happening within that. It doesn't matter. We could find out. But it wasn't important, because the whole issue came into the surface. And now it was up to John to actually seek assistance and start healing it. And then also find a way to start, which also he allowed. Was like, okay, so what do you need to do to help the dog? And I said, well, I feel that all I need to do is just start energetically sending support and healing to her liver. But I honestly think that this is going to be even more effective if you start taking care of yourself emotionally, spiritually, physically, with your drinking and with how you feel about yourself, the self-loathing, how defensive you're against, towards your mother and your siblings, because you feel that they still accuse you, but they don't. They're reaching out to him because they saw him that he's becoming self-destructive, and they forgave him for something that they never accused him of. But to him, it was all this huge mountain of weight on his chest, which I understand. I mean, this was actually a lesson to me to think, I never want to end a conversation with my elderly parents on an angry note, because I will never know if this is the last time that I see them or talk to them. So we kept on talking for a little while longer, for a few weeks, months, actually. The dog was not getting much better, but she was getting a little bit more stable about how she was reacting to the food on a physical level, and how some of the blood work was getting a little bit better. She was becoming a little bit calmer with people coming inside the house. And then there's another thing that comes up. He's thinking, and he's telling me, he's like, I think that I cannot keep this dog. Said, this dog was probably sent by God and my father to start healing this situation, and I'm already making strides. I mean, this is months down the road, but there's no way it doesn't feel like this is right for me or for her. And I said, well, now do I have your permission to talk with her? He said, absolutely. So the dog said, yes, I do not belong here. Mission accomplished. I need to leave this space. I did what I came here to do. And I said, okay, this is wonderful. So why was this a challenge? Because most of us are very much conditioned, self-conditioned or society conditioned or, peer pressured by animal-loving people and family. You never give up on your animal. You never abandon an animal. You never return it, blah, blah, blah. Of course, yes, we need to show commitment. We need to try. I've never seen another person show that much commitment to their animal, to their own well-being in trying to heal. So I realized in that moment, in this very, very fragile, but also very robust and squared type of person, when he admitted to me something that he knew and he was very much afraid that would be judged by everyone. How dare you to do that? This is a messenger from your dad and you're getting rid of the dog. Of course, but he felt it. And he said, this is something that comes from my heart. And I realized that he's softening. He's opening up. And he is self-judging. And he is self-accusing. And he's still in guilt. But something is happening. So when I asked the dog and the dog agreed that he wants to find another home for her, that for herself. And I told him that I also had doubts. I'm like, this isn't right. The conditioning, you don't give up on an animal. And me being also another person that advocates for animal adoption and not abandoning, or, I just couldn't find it that I'm going to actually utter the words to say, let's find her another home. I wasn't believing myself that I was actually doing that, but I was also realizing that there's a power and a strength in me much stronger than my systems of belief. So, parenthesis, healing my systems of belief through that process. The intuitive interspecies communicator was also learning in that time, right? So I had to heal my system of belief that it's okay, because this is right for the dog and this is right for John. He needs to move on. And then, the great problem was like, that this is a very aggressive dog. How are we going to do this? So he looked very, very hard. He was always calling me to tell me, I found these people. And then sometimes we interviewed them together and with some other of his friends as well. He was doing his best to find the best case scenario. And we were explaining some sort of the situation without giving many of the details because they were sounding a little bit crazy, as he was also saying. It's like, it's crazy. We can't tell people that we asked the dog, So a few months passed and he must have been almost 2 years old, the dog at that time. And he sent, we lost communication at some point. And he called me and said, I found her home. He said, I'm sending you photographs. And he sent me photographs of Roxy in a pool with children playing and having fun. And then following those photographs, he sent me photos of her tests, her blood work, that everything was perfect and clear. And when this family adopted her, they were hoping, because she did get along with the children, but they were also hoping that they would be getting a guard dog because she was a bit aggressive. She was mush with everyone. She never barked at another person. She became a happy camper for what I'm understanding was the rest of her life with me. So take your pick. Who healed who? The other side, the father, the son asking forgiveness, the son opening up to introspection and getting assistance and help, something that not many men want to do. Son with the rest of the family, myself letting go of systems of belief that are very limiting to the welfare of humans and animals, because we are one, we're interconnected. And then this dog was so happy. The children that had this dog grew up and they were very happy with her. And the family, everyone, it's the happily ever after kind of story. Because we listened, because a healer dog came here and she started healing one after the other, one person after the other. That's a nutshell. That is in a nutshell.
Thank you for that profound story. Every detail was so important. Let's move into the experiential portion of this conversation. We'll have about 7 minutes, Eleni, for the meditation. I will hold it over to you. It's basically a meditation for the well-being and healing of our animal family and species around the planet.
So I haven't done this before. And we did mention, okay, I've taken more time, I apologize. So I'm gonna do this a little bit, double pace. I want all of us, all those who feel comfortable are welcome to chime in to that meditation. In what way? I'm going to keep my eyes open. Christine, you can turn on the chat. And if someone specific of you has an issue, a problem, story, I mean, not a story, but, a situation with an animal, it can be, the name of the dog with a problem of their body or physical or emotional, whatever it is, or yours even. If you want it to be private, send it to me on a personal message. I'll be keeping, let me turn on my notes, the chat. And this is a co-created meditation. I'm going to include those who want to be named, those who do not want to be named also, and include as many as possible for healing animals, healing humans, and everyone collectively around us. How does that sound?
Oh, it sounds beautiful.
So let us also sit comfortable. You can close your eyes if you want, unless when you want to type. Take a few deep breaths. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. We invite the eternal divine light to cover us and guide us in this co-creating meditation. We invite the animals that have messages of healing, and also humans that need healing or want to send healing. We all want to include everyone within our family, within our hearts, those in spirit, the wild ones, those in our environment, whoever we feel called to mention. In the name of Mother, Father, God, of all that is creation, of oneness, in this fabric of life, in this multiverse, we open-heartedly pledge a promise to our animals and all animals in nature that we acknowledge and see their sovereignty. We acknowledge them for the species they are, the personalities they hold, the emotions they carry. We acknowledge and see however they are in their bodies, they are perfect. And we see the same for ourselves. We are sovereign beings with free will, and we too are perfect. And in coming together, we will find ways to heal one another wherever healing is needed for the highest good of all. Healing that is going to assist the collective, the family, the singularity of the being, but also all planet. We send and gratefully receive healing to Noor. We send and gratefully receive healing from Mukha. We call our animals, the ones on the physical plane and also those that have passed on the other side, to assist in healing the sadness and the self-doubt in all of us. We pray and ask for support for the precious dog Jethro, who's recovering from an operation after stomach torsion. Thank you, Jethro. Be well on your recovery. And be relieved, all the beings, Jethro and all the others, be relieved of carrying the burdens of humans, disease, on any of their bodies. It is not your mission. Let it go. And humans, also let it go. Leave it to the hands of grace and consciousness, higher consciousness. We pray and ask for support to be sent, healing to be sent if it is needed, to Hawaii, Canada, Greece, and everywhere on this earth, and all beings that are experiencing and are affected by wildfires. We see you, we hear you, we feel you. We do not hold on to the pain. We let it go. And we ask you, those who have suffered, and in the process of passing, let go. Light a candle. Each and every one of you, acknowledging your precious, lightful life on this planet. Be released, be free, joyous, and intact in your next form. Sending and receiving healing from Mimi, Jackie, Nadas, and Marimel. Also Nanook, who's in spirit. We send healing to be received if it is needed from Cody, for Cody, as his ligament is hurt. I believe Cody's a donkey who can't see. We sent healing to Cody. Lots of love and prayers to all semi-stray cats, especially Rojo, who needed to have an assisted passing this morning. Oh, be well on your journey, Rojo, to the other side. May you rejoice with your spiritual family, all those who have been there before you. We will light a candle for you. And for your human, Sophia, we pray for the physical challenges that she's been experiencing. May she is released and relieved permanently and with ease. It is for the highest good. Cody is a horse. We pray again for Cody the horse. Thank you. Cody the horse, be safe, be sound, be strong as you gallop and as you play. And if you don't now, we see you being strong and healthy. soon, with ease, if it is for the highest good. And there are 3 out of 4 family animals that have almost simultaneously understand have health issues. If something in their environment or in their family is causing this, we're asking to be cleared if it is for the highest good. We thank the animals for assisting in that clearing. If it is what it is that they do by choice, if it is to bring it to our attention, we thank them and we ask them to let go. The beautiful 17-year-old doggy Preston and Yoshi, a soul cat, and a disabled cat Jackson. You are the lights of your human's life, and you are lights in the lives of every life on this planet. We thank you for this light. We thank you for your lives. All those that we mentioned today, all those that are in our hearts, all those that we have forgotten or did not have the time to mention today. We send healing to you. We humbly and gratefully receive healing from you, and we see it as a bell ringing to take a closer look to the way we look and care for ourselves, for our families, for our environment, for the land that nourishes us, the sun that lights our way, the moon that brings light into the darkness, all beings, animals, plants, minerals. Thank you for your healing. Thank you for holding a mirror to humanity. Thank you for joining this beautiful conversation today. We send and receive healing with gratitude and humility. Aho.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you for leading us in that.
I'm sorry if I have missed a message, or I was mindful of the time, so I may have rushed it a little bit. Apologies.
Know that everyone will be included.
Yes.
Thank
and
you,
let's
everyone.
just hold our intention. Sorry, Christine. Let's just hold our intention that for the next 24 hours, let us all have safely a candle in our phone and maybe some smudging, and keep on adding names and situations. This beautiful circle of us today. Let us receive and let us send healing wherever it is needed. Let us do that if we can. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Love and light. Yes, Nikki, thank you. To Arresto. Oh, Arresto. Another amazing unicorn. Thank you, Nikki. Yes. More magic. Yes, magic. Oh,
Thank you for leading us through that and the invitation to set the intention to hold the space for 24 hours to light the candle. We'll take questions for about 10 minutes, and then we need to wrap up with Eleni's news and next steps. So questions, comments are welcome, both in the chat. I'll facilitate. Because we have 2 screens, it makes it so much easier for me to moderate and keep it fair by knowing who raised their hand first. If you can raise your digital hand, and you do so by activating your dashboard, looking for reactions, clicking on that, and then click raise hand, because that just makes it easier, because I won't be able to see people on the second screen. So questions, comments for Eleni today. I think that's Christine. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm Christina from Greece.
mm-hmm.
It was very lovely today. I have a question. I get how this works, but I need some help how do I keep this on a daily basis? Because the anger that you said about the story is holding me, and me and the animals and nature around me, and I cannot connect sometimes. I feel like I'm more wild sometimes, like a wild animal, and not so uh, how to say, κοινωνικό,
Social being.
yes, social being. And sometimes my ego and my selfishness, yes, gets in the way. So how can this process, because you took us through a journey today, you started out how we should do it practically and maybe get more emotionally with ourselves, but the story that you said is actually a healing process for ourselves and affecting others too. So how can I put this on a daily basis to remind, like a pin, put a pin every day in my life and say, you know what, this is it, this is where I need to have boundaries and say to myself, no, this is it, this is not what you know, this is what is true and natural, and not the negative. How can I do it myself, or should I need someone to find sometimes to help me guide me, or have a friend maybe to help each other, or alone? How can I do that on a daily basis?
Gkikakis, thank you for this question. I know your struggles, and thank you for sharing them here in this safe space. First of all, you know that you can have access to this conversation if you need to go back to it for as many times as you want. You just need to remember to download it. That's one thing. You can create your circle of people that feel and think like you, like-minded and like-hearted people, right? And if you feel that you're holding on to anger, and if you feel that you're holding on to issues that are not allowing you to move forward with this work, then there are many ways that you can go about it. First of all, like I said to John, find someone who will be able to help you, human to human, on an emotional, spiritual, psychological level. Find a friend who may not even have a good insight for you, but just like we said in the beginning, will be there to just listen and hold your hand because you're just feeling this anger. And it's very synchronous. You started with talking about anger, because just recently I saw something that made me feel a little bit more welcoming to the emotion of anger. I don't remember where I saw it. Forgive me, so I can't give credit. Anger can be a good ignition for action, as long as it is a peacemaking and a peace appeasing type of action, what we call sacred action, sacred activism. You feel anger about the fires, you feel anger about animals that are being abandoned, you feel animals that are being hurt. Take action. If your emotional state does not allow you to do that without amplifying your anger or your sadness, seek out emotional assistance for yourself. It can be a group, it can be one-on-one, it can be more classes like this, it can be mentorship. There are many, many ways. There are a lot of tools out there available. And we'll get back to that. You can email me, Christina.
Okay.
Thank you for your question. It is, I'm sure, something everyone feels. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. I'll just mention, Eleni, in the chat that Carlotta says that sacred rage is also a name for this.
I did not know that. Thank you.
Yeah, so sharing. I'm going to share a question that came to me via direct message, just to acknowledge it. And if people have other questions like that, they can put them forward in the chat. Although I will follow this up in tomorrow's follow-up email as opposed to now, just because it's on the spot and sometimes some things are easier to look up. So there's a question about, does anyone know of anyone or anywhere in Portugal where people are teaching and learning animal communication? And I do have information about that, but I will share that in tomorrow's follow-up email. So any questions direct to Eleni about today's conversation? We have time for one or two more if there are any that you would like to share in the chat, or if you would like to raise your hand and ask her directly.
We've answered everything.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone's in deep thought after the conversation and the story and the meditation. Yeah, just give it another minute just to see if anybody else has a question that they would like to ask. Yeah, I've got IT or it. I've just asked you to unmute. Go ahead, please.
Hi, it's
Wow.
LT.
Okay, LT. Okay, it shows up as it on my screen. Go ahead, please, LT.
Hey, I'm just wondering, with tuning into the animals, that space of knowing that it is my own shit and it's not that of the animal. So there was a few weeks ago, I was minding some dogs and they went wandering into the jungle until very late at night. And with tuning into them, with the first dog, he was fine. He was having a ball. And the second dog was okay, cool. With the second dog, when I tuned into her, I panicked. Mm-hmm. And it was that, is this me or is this the dog panicking? So that, how do you, Eleni, tune in to knowing that that space within inside of you is you and not whatever our animal friends are trying to say to us?
Thank you. That's excellent, actually, because I think you already have the answer. When it is our own animals or animals that we are stewarding or guarding or minding, whatever, we do panic. So it is very difficult, and myself included, it's very difficult to be in a place of harmony and balance, to actually tune in without having our own fears and what if something really bad happens, especially living in the jungle, and there's so many creatures, that other animals that could hurt them. However, when you received the message from the first animal that was having a ball, was actually out having an adventure, that you received because you were not in a state of panic and fear. So if you received that and then you received the other one, I would say that the other one is also extremely accurate for the animal. But if you had received both of them in a state of panic without knowing exactly what was happening, I could say, yes, it could be because you were panicking. But if you were panicking, and if it was your thoughts and your fears clouding your intuition, then you would never have felt the other dog having a ball and a good time. So I would really trust, and you're a very powerful intuitive communicator, so I know that. So truly trust what comes in, because something validated for you already, Does that help you?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for the question. Thank you.
Thank you, LT. I really appreciate the questions. So Eleni, what's coming up for you? What are you offering? What's going on? What's your news? What do you want to share with us? What is Interspecies Peace doing in the world?
Oh my gosh, 2 minutes left. Okay.
Don't worry, we don't have to finish exactly on the dot.
Okay, so the one thing that's coming up. Sorry?
Ah ja, ich gucke dann mal. Ich sag's dem Papa, danke.
I think somebody, oh, there we go. I've just muted.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what's coming up is that sometime within September, I do not know the date yet. I think it's going to be the last weekend of September. I'm going to offer an Interspecies Communication Day course for children. So that is going to be for the kids and how they can keep remembering and practicing interspecies communication. And possibly, if I'm like, yeah, I will learn a lot of things from them. And then the much coveted and many years waited for island retreat of interspecies communication and nature reverence in the Greek island of Tinos, which is taking place from October 5 to October 9. And it is just the best time actually for someone to visit Greece, because it is still summer, not scalding hot. The fires have ceased. The winds in the Cycladic islands where Tinos is have also ceased, and the Aegean Sea waters are a lot warmer than they were in the beginning of the summer. So there's still a couple of spots left. So if someone's interested, they can send me an email. And what else? I first weekend of November or second, I can't remember very well right now, an advanced animal communication course in person here in my space in Greece, mentoring online for the months of winter, and come March, a sacred journey to the white lions of South Africa.
Wow, it sounds very exciting and very wonderful. So great to hear your news and all your work in the world.
Thank you so much.
So tomorrow, just letting everyone know that a follow-up email will come from me. It will have the replay. It is time sensitive. You have 7 days from tomorrow to watch the replay. And thank you to Eleni. She's given permission that you can download it, which means you can watch it as many times as you want at your convenience. I will put an expiry date and time. It will be in my time zone, Eastern time zone. It will also include all the links to Eleni and Interspecies Peace, so that you can sign up for her newsletter, follow her on social media, and learn more about her on her website. There will also be a public replay coming out by a week today. So if you know of people now you've watched this thinking, hey, they would really benefit from this, it will be available at a reduced rate, and still 100% of the net proceeds will benefit Interspecies Peace. So you can continue to ripple this message. So I would invite everyone now to unmute for a group goodbye, and thank you to our very special guest, Eleni, for today's conversation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eleni. And
Thank you.
thank you to all of you who attended today too. I appreciate
Thank you
you.
all for being
Thank
here.
you so much.
Thank
you. Thank you. Thank you
you.
to everyone. Thank you, Eleni.
Keep in touch,
you,
everyone.
Eleni.
Keep in touch.
Bye, everybody.
Ciao,
Bye.
grazie.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.